Join Sean and Brad as they talk about sports and share a beer. From the east coast of Canada to the west coast of the United States. Over to you, boys.
Hey, Sean. Hey, good to see you, buddy. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Another week down.
Another week down. Yeah, it's been a crazy week, right? Hey, I'm going to talk about my beer choice today. Silver City Brewery down in Bremerton. The great state. It's the Red Shop Red Ale. Probably my favorite beer right now. So I don't know what you've got in your glass, but here's where I'm rolling.
How does it taste like?
Magic.
So I got myself here from, this is from 2015 Gottingen Street. Gottingen Street out in.
I know it's not Gottingen Street.
Gottingen Street out in Halifax, Nova Scotia. Propeller Brewing Company, Limelight. So I've had Bud Light, Lime. I've had other lime beers, but I really like the naming of this Limelight because it's named after one of my favorite Rush songs. So I was like, I got to give this a try. And it's just like what it is. It's lime and beer, and it's good for summer.
And it's light. It's light for your girlish figure. So
that is correct. That is correct. Cheers.
All right.
Yes.
Well, what have you been watching this week? It's been an exciting week in sports. I feel like a lot of interesting matchups, playoffs kicking in both hockey and basketball. So, I know you've been following the NHL closely. So what have you been seeing?
Man, so NHL, I was expecting some 7 games to come out of there. I'm actually surprised that the longest all these went is to 6. I really was starting to get invested with that Montreal series because it was just, Philadelphia, for being a number 1 seed, looked very fallible, considering that, you're only winning by 1-0 or 2-0. And at one point, I think going into game 5, they were 3 games to 1, scoring 5 goals, like lowest amount of goals scored for that team. Blew my mind. I thought Montreal had a puncher's chance then at that point, especially when they came back there in game 5, 5-3. And last night, man, they put up a good fight. Philadelphia didn't have a lot of shots, but the shots that they took advantage of it. And nothing worse than a deflected shot, because Carey Price, he's going to be one of the, if not one of the best, if not the best, one of the best goaltenders in the NHL. And he'll stop anything coming out of the
Better be lucky to be good, though, right? Better be lucky to be good. That's that deflected shot, buddy. That's how that goes.
Well, that's the worst part. Is like that's the way that they were scoring, is screening him and deflecting shots off of his own players. That's the worst. It's like it becomes an own goal. It's dirty. And you see him too. He's just looking at them like.
Yep. It's terrible, right? You can't do nothing about it. It's got to be terrible to have someone rifle something at you that fast and your reaction time is so cut in half because people are in front of you. Like, just think about like the logistics. It feels so terrible. You know what I mean? Like that's like, oh God, it feels terrible.
I can't even imagine. They were down 2-0 to start in less than a few minutes, and I was like, oh no.
Yeah, I don't know. As big as we are, right? I don't know that I could put pads on and sit in front of a goal and have someone skate at me and fire a puck and I could block it. I could probably block a couple, but not.
I think you got to be a little crazy.
Yeah, I agree. But just the thought of that is crazy. But then the thought of shortening that distance by not being able to see the puck until it flies by somebody else just feels,
Oh yeah,
crazy to me. Like,
and the worst
in the NFL, like the guys they catch balls like through other defenders' hands, like it's a miracle. You know what I mean? Like the concentration that takes is elite. I guess that's why those guys are pro athletes, right?
So like OBJ with that one-handed grab, beautiful. But when you're talking about that close distance, when you really do think about that, because NHL, it's a smaller rink. Because if you watch Olympics, right? Because I think a lot of Americans. A lot of Americans are actually very educated in hockey now, I find.
Yeah.
But if you watch the Olympics, it's a wider rink, a lot more action for play. When you're like this, when you're in a smaller rink, it just becomes a lot more of a chippier game. And definitely,
Yeah.
I mean, when the puck's ping-ponging off of everywhere, it's crazy. I was watching a Colorado series. I am happy that Colorado took care of Phoenix. Everybody was saying Phoenix was this great dark horse because they had Taylor Hall, Phil Kessel. So, great, fantastic. Colorado just came out and just smacked them around. I mean, 7-1, 7-1. I mean, and then what really ticked me off, I love Nazem Kadri. He used to play in Toronto. His 2 playoff runs with Toronto, he gets suspended for both of them, right? Like, gone. He shows up in this one. Those games he played, I think he had 5 goals, 2 assists, 7 points in like 4 games. It's like, where was that? Where was that in Toronto, man?
Well, it was at home. It was at home. It was.
And then
it's the frustration, right? It's always hard for me to watch players, even as free agency's evolved, right? And so players move around a lot more than normal. Like watching someone that you rooted for go to another team and like really show their potential is tough.
Oh yeah,
it's so very tough. You're like, hey, why wasn't that here? Like, that's difficult.
Well, and the other thing too is that the past
like when Marshawn came from your Bills, like Marshawn was good when he played for your Bills, but he wasn't beast mode.
No, beast mode happened in Seattle. I don't know.
Beast mode happened in Seattle.
But like when you have a look at the 2 past Stanley Cup champions, St. Louis Blues, Washington Capitals, both eliminated, both gone. Yeah. So now, I mean, who knows who's going to win? Tampa's a favorite. Philadelphia, if they turn the game around, And on the West Coast, I mean, there's only one Canadian team left, the Canucks, and they play great. I think they're too young.
They've been going really well.
Oh man, they're too young
but
to know what they
did. In this, but sometimes that's okay, right? Sometimes the young, fearless don't have the yips because they don't have the ability to know what the yips are yet. Like that's really worth something. Like that's.
Well, nobody thought. Nobody gave them a chance because you're going up against the Stanley Cup champions, St. Louis Blues, and they came out and they completely took over that series.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's great. So now we're starting already. Like, there's no rest. We're starting into the second round tonight. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's fascinating that the last 2 champions are out, right? Because we talked about what championship means. Just from an edge. And then this bubble play is so fascinating to me because there's just no travel, right? No one's in their own beds. There's really no advantage, and so you're seeing it really, I think, shake up how the world goes. That's just the thing. Home court matters, I think. Home ice, whatever we're calling it, right? Familiarity, it matters, and it kind of takes all of it out, and it doesn't level the field because I feel like there's definitely talent between rosters that is different. That's why you have seeds. But man, from an advantage, like you're not getting it. Like being the home team on a neutral site is not really it. But other than your guy controls the fake noise that comes in, so I guess you have that going. But the energy's just not there.
No, I agree with that there. What I think though is that because you have no travel, you have no fatigue. It's just regular 100%. Bumps and bruises. So okay, you're not getting the home cooking, if you want to say, but at the same hand, you're sleeping in a different bed every night. You're not sleeping in your own bed and then have to get up, go on an airplane, fly out somewhere, and then play.
Yeah, it's 100% that.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, but they've been in that bed now for how long? How long is it? I mean, I know in the NBA they've been in there since July, right? So we're talking 6 weeks now. They've been sleeping in that same room. Got to be familiar.
Yep.
You know what I mean? They're set up to it. We all know how adaptive people are, right? Like, once you get on, once you're away for a while, you're just away. And so not having to travel time zones, not being in the air, all those things make a difference. I think that's why you're going to see a bit of a resurgence for the older guys, right? That's where it comes together.
Agreed. We were talking about last week, Sunday there, Tuukka Rask leaving Boston. I guess that they released something there over during the week, just basically stating that I guess his daughter was having some sort of problems. And I mean, I understand. At the same hand, though, I'm also like, maybe you shouldn't have came, like right off the bat. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Especially if that's happening, it's 2 hours before a game. But I respect the man
Yeah.
that he said what he was going to do. And Boston really is not affected because you have those two goaltenders. So I think Boston's still a favorite. So
yeah, fascinating to watch. I think it's interesting in this day and age, just the access we have to information and how we feel about how we should be seeing it.
Well, I wanted to talk about some of the things there because, like, we're gonna have to talk about NFL football here shortly. I mean, just there's like you and I.
Good old Earl Thomas.
Oh, buddy, I saw that too. There's
Speaking of guys used to root for that went to a different team, I love Earl. Earl has been one of my favorite Seahawks ever. But watching his efforts in Baltimore is a bit satisfying for me.
Well, like I've been hearing, like, Doug Peterson, Matthew Stafford was a false positive of COVID, right? But these guys, they have no real expectation of privacy because everybody needs to know what their health situation is like. Where you and I, we can kind of just like, hey, we can live our lives and we have whatever, we can hide it, I mean,
we can be more private, right? Yeah,
that's exactly it. I mean, obviously you're going to take the proper precautions. You're not going to be trying to spread it to anybody. Yeah. But these guys,
privacy has a cost. It has millions of dollars.
Absolutely.
That's all. I mean,
you're absolutely correct.
The Matt Stafford thing was, the same thing, with his wife and with them being public about her conditions. I mean, all that stuff's out there, right? I think anyone that's in the public eye now, I don't necessarily know there's anything wrong with it. I think with our expectations, I just think it's different than what it was. Technology's just taking it.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong. I mean, when it comes down to it, you're there and you're making an investment as a team, right? Yeah. So it's the same thing as buying a car. It's the same thing. I hate to make it into that kind of thing where it's something like
we're consumerism, right? We're just consumers, right? Yeah.
So you want to kick the tires around. So I mean, you're not going to give the money until, of course, you go through a medical or anything like that. So I mean, it's just the way it is.
It's very interesting. I think even seeing what we saw today with Ron Rivera, right, with that news coming out that he has cancer and he still plans to coach through it. I don't know that we would have heard that sort of necessarily in the 1990s, right, or the early 2000s. I think it would have just been quietly, come out that was going on. But
you're right. You're right.
Now they're in front of it, and I think it's a good thing. I think it's cool that they use that platform to make the rest of us feel like it's okay. I think spotlighting struggle is always a good thing.
Yeah.
So,
and also it shows too that we're starting to care more for the players. Like, hey, or coaches or the people that are doing this, because it's like you need to take care of yourself before you.
That's an interesting thought. And I wonder if that's not bred from the access we still have to players now that with technology, right? With social media and just it seems there's more of a push to hire former players to be analysts, right? I mean, I remember being younger, it wasn't always like, it was rare to have the Tom Jacksons of the world who had played football.
Right.
And be analysts, right? Like this wasn't a thing. And now you're seeing more and more guys retire and go into the analyst mode. And I wonder if the fact that we see them age, if that gives us more compassion, right? And really gives us an idea of what we want to see in people before that.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting thought. Yeah. I hadn't fully thought about that.
Hey, Brad, so there's another playoff round going around.
Yeah.
For a different association.
One of the best associations, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Let's get into some NBA action here.
Yeah. Well, it's been an interesting week. It's an interesting start to the playoffs. I think that you're seeing the tempo is still really fun with this AAU style tournament where everyone's in the bubble and everyone's kind of, I think that there's a lot of banter back and forth in the hallways of the hotels, which is real similar to AAU basketball, and that's fun. I think you see that stuff kind of come across the court. There's some chippiness. The Dallas LA Clippers series has been fascinating to watch as you see these young guns just try to come and take, the Clippers are in a bit of a spot, I think, because they've got all this talent, right? And they've got Kawhi as a leader with a championship medalist trying to bring them up. But the Clippers historically have underperformed. And so you've got this, arguably Hall of Fame head coach in Doc Rivers, right, who's won before.
Right.
You got Kawhi Leonard, who's won before. And they're trying to bring along the rest of the world with them, the Harrells and the Lou Wills and the Paul Georges and all those guys. And you're seeing this upstart Mavericks team really get in and feel like they're under their skin. And I think last night, they were down a lot, and then Luka got hurt. Luka's a special talent. He really is a special talent.
What is he, 21?
20, yeah, he's 21 now. He's super young. Yeah. He's just, even, getting out, leaving how he did, hopping on one leg all the way. I don't know if you saw that, but he hopped on one leg all the way to the locker room.
Yeah.
I couldn't hop on one leg to the parking lot, really, you know what I mean? So that's a feat of something right there. And then watch him come back out, try to give it a go, not be able to go, and then this morning come out and just say, it's not a big deal, I'm going to play, the next game. So it's fascinating to watch that. And then we have the blowouts, right? The Blazers getting blown out, which hurt my feelings a little bit.
Well, I mean,
lately, but
honestly,
you live by the 3, you die by the 3.
They showed up game one, right? They showed up. They were fresh off of that game in. They fresh off that game in where C.J. McCollum and Damian Lillard ends up getting 60 points combined, right? So they handled their business against Memphis. They came in. They were still feeling that, I'm sure. And just, Lakers have just been playing whatever basketball. Like, I'm not saying it wasn't good basketball, but the thing is that Lakers haven't been playing any really meaningful basketball. You come into game one, and Portland was just, we're taking this.
On one.
Yeah, exactly. And
it was really
Lakers, there was going to be some sort of rebuttal for that.
Yeah, and it just felt like Portland couldn't get a rebound, and they felt like they couldn't hit a 3. And they didn't. I don't remember what the number was. I sent to my brother after the game. It was like, I think they were like 3 for 30 or something stupid shit like that from 3. Like they just couldn't hit a 3, which is how they live, right? I mean, that's when they get going. Gary Trent did his thing, but Dame got hurt, but he was 1 for 7 when he went out. So I don't feel like, when you have an off night with your guy, that's kind of the level that Portland's at. So it'll be fascinating to watch that. And then, follow up to that was the Jazz just manhandling Denver Nuggets. And that was just, for me, a shocker. I feel like Denver's more talented than that.
Yeah.
But, super interesting to see last night,
I don't know if I agree with you about Denver being that talented. I mean, I don't know. I mean, when I saw the Magic and the Bucks playing, that game one, like people were like, "Well, this is why Giannis isn't staying. This is why Giannis isn't staying." And of course, I jumped on the bandwagon, acting like a mini Drake, right? Just there going, "Yeah, man, he's gonna look great in a Raptors uniform. Absolutely fantastic." You know, but come on, man, it's the Bucks, it's Giannis. You think that really Magic is going to be able to take out the Bucks? Like, no. Giannis woke up.
Not likely. Yeah, name 2 players from the Magic.
Aaron Gordon.
Yeah, one.
Vukovic, Nikola. That's about all I can name, really, though. It's
like, there's Mo Bamba. I know Mo Bamba's there. That's
Bamba.
If he didn't have that song, I wouldn't know necessarily. So it's fascinating to watch. I think all those leagues, and that kind of sets up, I think, what just the feeling of watching your team lose. And I think Milwaukee isn't conditioned to being winners, right? We could agree they haven't won much of anything, right?
Not since Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Yeah, and they lost him, right? So there has to be, for those old timers, there's maybe a bit of sense of angst, feeling like this is maybe their sunset for Giannis. And so, last week we talked about being conditioned to lose, which I think Milwaukee probably is. But there's also like the thrill of victory and the agony and defeat that comes in this whole thing. And like agony and losing a game one of an opening round is very, it
can set the tone. It can set the tone.
It absolutely does. You see who you are. It all depends on how your team responds, right? And so, I remember being, 8th grade. My Sonics were winning. They were good. They were the top seed in the West. They were playing the Denver Nuggets. And then, history happens, right? And number 8 seed wins for the first time ever over number 1 seed. And like, I could still, I remember how I felt. We were going to Disneyland that day, and it ruined my entire trip because we flew to Disneyland the next day, and I just hated life. My team wasn't in the playoffs anymore. And
little Brad was upset.
I was mad. I wasn't even upset. I was pissed off on the plane. I was talking to strangers about it. At 14, it just kind of set the tone for me. And like, it's still to this day, like, you'll see clips, like NBA will run those commercials about the playoffs, and you'll see Dikembe just with the ball, crying on the Florida Key Arena.
Oh man. Well, so I made up a list of the thrill of victory, the agony of defeat, and how that defined me as a sports fan, right?
Yeah.
Are we starting with defeats right now? Because if that's the case, I got my 3.
I think let's start with defeats. I just gave you one of my top 3. I mean,
all right.
I don't necessarily know if I can rank the agony, but I'll tell you the 3 agonies that I had, and that's one of them. I remember. I mean, that stings. So I'll give you the second one. I'll give you 2.
Right, give it to me. Give it to
and
me.
I'll give you the last one. The other one that I feel like this shaped who I am is, I was probably 8 years old.
Right.
Brian Bosworth was like the biggest thing since like sliced bread, right? Like he was the dude in Seattle, and maybe my favorite athlete of all time is Bo Jackson, right? Everyone loves Bo Jackson. There's no question about Bo Jackson. And he was coming to Seattle. It was a Monday night game, and I remember going to my grandpa's house, and my dad let me stay up late to watch Monday Night Football. So the West Coast, Monday Night Football didn't start till later then, and so it was always past my bedtime. And I remember just watching Bo Jackson just destroy Brian Bosworth a couple times, and just getting smoke checked on TV, and just feeling so terrible about our chances for the rest of the season. Like that defeat just set me up to be like, I couldn't see past the game. I felt like each game was the season at that age, right?
They keep showing on NFL Network that one play of Bo Jackson going right through the ball.
Yes.
Going right through him.
Yeah, the worst one was watching him go live and get around the corner and then outrun him and then run up the tunnel because he was going so fast. Like that.
Everybody remembers that. If you watch the NFL Network, trust me, it comes around. It makes the recycle.
Yeah. It's a great play. It just being on the other end of it was terrible. I remember this is back in the day, right? We didn't have remotes necessarily or those things. Nope. And I remember my grandpa just getting up out of his chair and walking into the room to go get. I don't even know what he went to go get. He was just pissed, dude. We were hype. We bought the hype.
That's up there. That's up there with the butt fumble. It's
close.
That plays up there with the butt fumble, for sure.
Yeah, that's how Jets fans feel, huh? Jets fans feel like that all the time.
I think so, man. I think so. So, all right, I'm going to give you an honorable mention because so the thing is that being a Leafs
honorable mention. Man, you have rough teams, I guess.
Exactly. Okay, so honorable mention, Team Canada. 98 Winter Olympics in Nagano. So this is like the first time that professionals, so it's like, Dream Team was already happening in basketball. It's the first time that professionals were allowed to play on the Olympic team for ice hockey. And it was definitely Wayne Gretzky's last time really playing any sort of international hockey. Yeah. And we're coasting through the prelims, and I was just having a look at it there, and we lost to the Czech Republic there to go to the bronze medal game because we could have went to the gold medal game, but we lost to the Czech Republic, and Dominik Hasek was in net, and then of course,
Dominic,
buddy, because it's Olympics, we don't do a sudden death overtime; it becomes a shootout.
Yeah, which is maybe the greatest thing in sports. Is a shootout.
Not in hockey. I mean, I understand soccer.
Oh, come on. Oh, please. Yes. Yeah.
Anyways.
You've been on the wrong side of it too many times. That's why you don't like it.
but the thing is that they didn't even put Gretzky. They didn't even put Gretzky on as one of the shooters.
Yeah.
Because of his history in shootouts is not great.
Oh, really? Is he not clutch? Is Mr. Hockey himself is not
I don't
clutch?
know. Somebody that holds all the records in the NHL. Huh. You would think that would be a clutch guy, but
who is the coach?
I'm trying to think now.
Exactly. That's where they went sideways.
Anyways, so I'm going to go into my real list now. So that was just my honorable mention. So my third, as far as agony and defeat, when I really, I had to really think about it because, like I said, plenty of defeat.
Yeah.
For me, number 3 after that there would have to be Toronto Maple Leafs losing to the Los Angeles Kings in 1993. So this is the semifinals. Montreal Canadiens would advance to the Stanley Cup Finals. We had a chance to make it a Toronto-Montreal Stanley Cup Finals. We fought like everything that happened throughout '93. Everything that we played was 7 games, and we always let's win it in overtime because we're not going to make this easy on us, right?
Yeah.
So we fought to get in there to bring it to the 7th game. Then it goes to overtime. And I remember in overtime, Wayne Gretzky. So again, Wayne Gretzky. So he comes up and he high sticks Doug Gilmour in the face, right? And Dougie he was our best player at that time. And Dougie is bleeding. And that's automatic 4-minute double minor. But what does Kerry Fraser, the ref, do? Because it's Gretzky, right? No penalty. No.
I just want to say real quick that you know what the ref's name is, but you don't know what the coach's name is.
No, yeah.
I just want to throw that out there.
So yeah,
the listeners didn't miss that. That's how deep it is. Listen, that's why the Olympic thing is even honorable mention. Because the third one, like we could talk about who the ref was.
Buddy, I was livid. I love Gretzky, but after that moment, I was really pissed for him for about a season or two. Then I let it go.
Yeah.
But
you can respect his talent. You don't gotta like him. That's fine.
Well, it wasn't his fault. That was Kerry Fraser. That was Kerry Fraser's fault.
Yeah. Well,
Dougie's bleeding. Who cares? Dougie's bleeding. It's all good.
Not Wayne.
Wayne's good.
Yeah. Wayne just kept going. The golden boy.
Oh, man. All right. So I'm going to give you a number 2. Number 2, as far as what defines me, I remember was the Raptors, actually, when we went up against Cleveland in the this is, I think, 2016. We're in the Eastern Conference Finals. I always was like, oh, man, we have a chance. But it broke my heart just seeing LeBron James just take it to us. And that was a more recent one. But, yeah, that was –
Is that because you heard it from your roommate?
No. We were actually – I was in St. Jean-sur-Richelieu at that moment there doing a course. And we were able to actually watch the game in one of the local messes. So we're there and we're watching the game, and here we are pleading to put the game on because, we're in Canada, so it's like off hockey everywhere. Yeah. It's like, come on, man, it's the Raptors, So they finally put it up on this little TV somewhere, and we're watching it. And I'll never forget, though, Kyle Lowry, he just pushed LeBron a little bit, and LeBron all of a sudden, going right back on his butt. Like,
yeah.
Okay.
It's a pro move by LeBron there.
Yeah.
So the 6'9", 270 guy gets pushed around a lot.
Oh my gosh. Well, first off, it's Kyle Lowry, right? I mean, Kyle Lowry is 6'1", 6'2", right?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
LeBron's like 6'7", 2.
Oh, he's bigger than that. He's like 6'9". Yeah, 6'9", 270, something like that.
You're going to tell me that little Kyle just all of a sudden shoved you on your butt? Like, come on.
Maybe. Yeah. The chosen one.
My number 1, because I was 13.
Yeah.
And Toronto Blue Jays were in the American League Championship Series. So this is the first time that, Toronto's ever made it to that position.
Yeah.
So it was a drive of 85. I was 13 years old, grade 8. I mean, it was just like, yeah, Toronto. And we went up 3-0, right? 3-0 against Kansas City Royals.
Yep.
We ended up losing 4-3.
I remember.
George Brett, the Blue Jay killer. And here I am, 13. I'm crying my eyes out because it's over. And my dad's there putting me to to bed. You need to go to sleep. You need to get up for school. And I'm like, but Dad, it's over. It's over. He goes, there's always next season, son. And even then, I knew 162 games. You got to get the magic number. You got to be up there. Oh, it might not happen.
It's all going to break right. Yeah,
It's
it's all going to break right. So crushing.
All right. So you still have one more. You still have one more.
I do have one more. It feels like it's cheap for me to say that it's the Super Bowl the Seahawks lost against the Patriots, because I feel like, I mean, I think that was more irritating than crushing, because I think we all knew going into that how hard it was to go back to back. We also, like, I think that no one that's a Seahawks fan feels like we really lost that game. We feel like Pete just made a really terrible call that blew the game. So, like, it's not like agony. Like, it's not.
Patriots fans are even saying that we didn't win that game. The Seahawks lost.
Yeah, I mean, they won it, right? But, like, it's not like they didn't make a great play. It wasn't like the Patriots Falcons where, like, they came back and they won it.
No,
you know what
exactly.
I mean? Like, it was.
Yeah.
You know, Seattle just made some errors, and that's how it goes. Like, that's why we all watch. Like,
we talked about that last week.
Yeah, but from an agony standpoint, like, not real high on my list, right?
Yeah.
Because it's just, I'm still mad. Like, I'm more upset about 05 when Roethlisberger had that fake ass touchdown in the Super Bowl with the phantom offensive PI and all. Like, I'm more upset about that game than I am about the Patriots loss. That might be honorable mention, is that Super Bowl against the Steelers. I still can't. You want to know the worst beating I've ever seen at a sporting event? Because at a lot of sporting events, you'll see a beating everyone. You'll see an altercation, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you have. I don't know. They're probably more cordial in Canada, but
what are you talking about?
There'll be a little bit of trash talking, and sometimes it leads to an altercation. And I remember it was like 2005 or 6. Maybe a little later than that. It was 2 or 3 years right after. So it was probably 2008. After that Super Bowl. And this guy comes into the section, and he's wearing a Sean Alexander jersey, which already is something. But whatever. But he's wearing his Pittsburgh Steelers hat. And listen, you can't mix teams like that. You just can't.
Yeah. Unless, of course, they're from the same city, I can see it. But yeah.
You can mix sports. You can mix sports, I guess. Like, that's one thing. But, like, you can't mix the same league. You can't do that, right? It's like you wearing a Montreal Canadiens hat because that's your new favorite.
With my Maple Leafs jersey.
Like you can't do it. Like, what are you doing? It's like Rob Lowe wearing an NFL hat at this football game. Like, you're not picking any teams. And that guy, like, someone started chipping at that guy. And he was like, whatever. He's like, my wife's a Seahawks fan. She made me wear this jersey, but I'm a Pittsburgh fan. Someone knocked his hat off, and they ended up rolling down the stairs. And it was entertaining for sure. Like, it was 100% entertaining.
Why does that sound like an episode of Seinfeld with Elaine Dennis coming in with the Baltimore Orioles?
And maybe this is for a different time, but we should talk about the crazy moments we've seen in stadiums. Because I think we can. That's
definitely a different time. We can't talk about that one to this because we'll get into a whole different.
We'll put that on the list. I've got some stories to tell. So those are the things. I think for me though, when I just chalk up agony, it wasn't even a game moment. It was, in 1992 was the prime NBA for me. I was young. I was 11, just coming into understanding what basketball was and loving to play the game and watching it all the time. And then, Magic Johnson announcing that he had HIV, that was devastating to me. Like, I remember, like, my aunt called my mom and said, hey, I just saw on the news, like, I know Brad loves Magic Johnson, because I love Magic Johnson. Everyone loves Magic Johnson. It feels like a general statement. And I remember my mom just telling me, in the middle of the afternoon. It was just in the summer, right? It was in August, and we were home. And I remember just going to my room and sitting on the floor and just sobbing because I thought he was going to die, because we just didn't know much about that.
It was pretty new. Yeah.
Like a loss. It just felt like a big loss to me. And so I think that from a sports perspective, like, that was the biggest thing that, like, made me have an emotional agony reaction that, like, lasted for a while. I remember just being sad about it,
right,
all the way through, like, all the way until seeing him play at the All-Star game. I thought that was a nice moment.
Buddy, that was something, because you think about it, how how people were thinking about people with HIV at that moment is like, if I just touch this guy, I'm gonna get it. And
or if I drink out of the same, like no one knew, right? I feel like
nobody really. I mean,
no one knew what that was.
People were talking about it, like, and of course, people were getting worried. It's like, well, I mean, what happens if he bleeds and then I'm bleeding, and then I was really happy that they, everybody was just cool enough to say, let's just do it. Let's get him out there. Let's get him to play. Yeah.
I mean, it speaks to what we talked about earlier, right? With how showing that struggle, and we talked about with Matt Stafford and showing those things, like it was that was kind of the moment, right? Of saying like, no, we're going to embrace this. Like, this is okay. We're going to talk about it. It's okay to have these feelings, but here's the reaction, right? And so I thought that was something. But I remember just being, just devastated for months because, my favorite basketball player was going to be, and I was already conflicted because, Magic was the Lakers, right? Everyone, that was the thing. I remember, watching them win in Boston when I was young. I think that's like the first thrill of victory, sitting with my cousins watching the game. We were supposed to be like at a family reunion or something, and these cousins that were older, and I idolized them, right? Because they're my older cousins, and watching basketball. And two things that stand out to me about that game is the one, how crazy Larry Bird is. But my whole family, we were all Lakers fans, at that point, because the Sonics weren't good in the 80s, and like 85, 86. And then I remember it's the first time I ever heard swearing on TV because Larry Bird missed a free throw late, and the guy was asleep on the dump button, and you heard like from the upper bowels of the Garden, of the Boston Garden, you hear this guy go, shit, like real loud. And I remember being 8 years old and being like, what? And my cousins all laughing. And
have you ever been to the Boston Garden?
No.
Like I went to TD Bank North. This is back in 07.
Yeah.
It's a madhouse. It's a madhouse. I went to go see the
Raptors
and the Celtics.
Yeah.
It's a madhouse in there.
You are a crazy person. I don't feel like that's a place that you want to go be a opposing fan.
I bought my ticket from the scalper. We were in Boston. Our ship pulled in. We were in Boston, and I just went out there, bought myself a scalper ticket.
You went by yourself?
Absolutely, I went by myself because nobody else wanted to come. Everybody wanted to go to see the Montreal-Boston Bruins game the night before. Nobody wanted to go see NBA. Yeah. So I went. I said, screw it. I'm going to go.
Man, that's the second craziest thing you've ever told me.
Well, I mean, I wasn't wearing any jerseys or anything.
Okay. Never mind then. Forget it.
That's not true, though. I did, you know what? Actually, I did walk around with my Maple Leafs jersey. I do remember that. But the Maple Leafs are so bad at that point that the Boston.
Yeah, no one cared. Yeah.
No, that's exactly it. They took compassion on me. Oh, you're a Maple Leafs fan, huh? Oh, that's all right.
Let me buy you a beer. Come here, let me buy you a beer.
That's all right.
Yeah, that's funny. It's funny.
Hey, before we start talking about Thrill of Victory, I know you just gave your first one.
Yeah.
I wanted to let the listeners in on something here because here on Guys.Beer.Sports, not only do we talk about sports, but sometimes we want to edify your mind as well. So I told Brad earlier this week that I learned a new word.
Yeah.
I had no idea. So my wife and I, sometimes we get into verbal pugilism.
It's a big word.
It's a
you
big
should probably break that down. Yeah.
Pugilism is basically just a fancy word for boxing, okay? So verbal jousting, okay?
Yes, a little back and forth.
So here I am. I don't think I'm a dumb person, but when I go against a mental giant like hers, like I married up, okay? I'm one of those people, I can admit it, I understand it.
Me too. Listen, we both outkicked our coverage, right?
So I married up.
No secrets. There's no secrets.
No. So
cheers to marrying up. Listen, if you didn't marry up, sucks to be you.
Cheers. Anyways, so when I get into any sort of verbal pugilism with my wife, I already know I'm at a terrible disadvantage. It's like me with both arms behind my back, and she's just smacking me in the face, okay? Yeah. So she's there. She's helping me do all this stuff here because my technological skills are very limited, okay? Sometimes I feel like I woke up from a great big sleep, and I'm just coming out of, like Cro-Magnon times, and just knuckles dragging around, like, and the whole world's changed around me, okay? So she's there, and she's like getting frustrated with me, and she just goes, Sean, you were such a Luddite. And I'm like, and so that I hear her, because she works from home, okay? So I hear her telling her employees, yeah, I'm helping my husband with a podcast, and helping with it. He's a Luddite. I'm like, what is this word? So I had to look it up. Now, right? I'm like, Luddite.
Wait, hold on. Do you think her coworkers knew what that word meant?
I think maybe I'd say a good 50%, maybe 60%. Yeah, it's a word. It's a word that I didn't
It's a
know.
word.
I had to sit there and actually look for the spelling of this word, because I misspelled it. I spelled it Ludite, and it actually is double D. Okay? Oh yeah, exactly, right? So here I am, I'm looking it up. And the literal translation of this word, Brad, the literal translation actually described me to a T. It is opposed to new technology, opposed to new ways of thinking. Now, I like to think that, no, I'm not opposed to new ways of thinking. I can start thinking out of the box. I can start accepting things, okay? But the technology thing, okay, maybe she had a point. Luddite. If you are a Luddite, do not feel embarrassed. It's okay.
It's a safe place for you.
There's no pills for it,
Safe
but
place.
it's okay.
Well, there might be a pill for it. I don't know. Maybe in the States there's a pill for it. They probably have something for it.
You never know, eh?
It's not good for you. It's got terrible side effects probably, but they probably have something to help you.
Luddite.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so carry on with your thrill of victory, Brad.
Well, I mean, yeah. I think the second one for me is the Super Bowl that Russell Wilson and then won. And I remember it because it's so memorable and the thrill was so high because, like we talked last week, is this we were so conditioned to lose. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, and I was here's how superstitious I mean, we talked last week about how superstitious I am. About how, like, if I do something and something happens. I mean, one thing I didn't talk about last week is I remember this one time I was watching the Seahawks in Green Bay. It was a regular season game. We had to have it because we needed it to make the playoffs, right? This is like the 08, 09 kind of garbage years. And we were losing to the Green Bay Packers by 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. And I went in the bathroom and they scored a touchdown on a fumble recovery. And I came back out and we turned the ball over. So I went back in the bathroom and the game started going well. I spent the entire fourth quarter sitting on the counter in the bathroom because we were winning. And I knew if I came out, we were going to lose. Like, that's how terrible it is for me. So that playoff run, that when the Seahawks won the Super Bowl, we kind of just were under the radar a little bit, like no one thought we were going to get there and all those things. And I had only watched the game with my brother. Like, he'd come up with the playoffs to come over. And so, like, and he's similar to me. We're kind of, that way. And he came over and it was in between weeks, right? It was like media week or whatever. And I remember he texted me and he was like, hey, what are you doing for the game? And I was like, I feel like nothing. And he goes, yeah. He goes, I think that maybe I should just come over. We should not have a Super Bowl party. Let's not go to a Super Bowl party. Like, let's just keep the same energy. And so that's what he did. He came over, brought my little nephew, Ezra, which, he had learned a lot of things that playoff run about thrills and victories and those kinds of things. And I remember it was just him and I, and Nikki took this great video at the end because we knew it was over, kind of just, but still we're just like, if anyone's going to blow a 21-point lead with 3 minutes left, like, it's going to be Seattle, right? That's just how we felt. So we're just kind of sitting there, and then, like, the final horn goes off and the confetti drops, and Nikki's running this video, and I just look at my brother, and we just shake hands, and, like, that was it. Like, that, but, like, I'll hold that with me forever. Like, that was, like, the greatest high that we still chase. I think, we even have done that recently in watching those Super Bowls, is, like, just having these small gatherings of,
It's funny you mentioned that because that was my number 3. That's my number 3 is the Seahawks.
Yeah.
And the reason why I said that is like, so I remember when I was stationed out in NAS Whitby Island there. So the oh my goodness, MWR was selling tickets to Seahawks games, right? So I stood in line to get these tickets, and it was like $87 for regularly $225. Remember, it was underneath the 12th man flag.
Yep.
I'm jumping ahead.
Yeah,
So
good seat.
Yeah, so I got tickets to the last game of the season. And Brad, I remember I asked you, I said, you want to come? You're like, yeah.
I never turned seats down. Yeah.
So it was my son, my wife, you, me. We're there. We're watching St. Louis Rams at the time playing the Seahawks last game of the season. I was sick as a dog. Do you remember that? I was super sick. And people, like, I've never been to a tailgate like that because there was no actual vehicles, right? So it's like you're just walking around, drunk guys, 10 a.m., like, Seahawks. And I'm like walking up, and there's this mat leading up, like this mat in the middle of the sidewalk out of nowhere, just like, hey, wipe your feet in the San Francisco 49ers mat, you know, like in the middle of nowhere. Okay, sure, wiping it. So then we end up.
Shout to the 12s. The 12s know how to get down. We have a good time.
And I remember I'm covered up in blankets because I'm sick and I'm watching this game. You and I are into it. My son is his first football game. He's into it. Joanna wants a coffee. And you remember we spent, I think, a good portion of the second half because she wanted Starbucks coffee. We spent a portion of the second half getting this coffee because everybody wanted Starbucks coffee.
Yep.
And I remember going up there. It's like this game's over. This game's over. But I knew from the season, I knew from that game that no, Seattle's winning this championship. There's no team that can stop them. Because Denver,
they just had it. Whatever it was, they were holding it.
Like Denver had like what the best offensive year ever of any team ever, right? But I'm like, that means nothing. Look at that Legion. The Legion of Boom was serious. They were serious, and I just.
Well, it's real, right? Defense wins championships, right? Like we know that over and over and over again.
Absolutely. So that was my number 3 because that was something to be there and to experience it, you know, and it was so awesome. It was just a feeling that I can't explain. Well, no, I can because we had it. It doesn't happen very often in Toronto, but we did have it. I was going to get to that there. There's not too many times, right? Number 2. Notice that this is all of my adult life. Okay, all my thrills.
Yeah.
3. Okay, it's all of my adult life. In my childhood, it's all loss. And so
that's why you celebrate it so much now because you know it's fleeting, right?
Right.
You spent 30 years of losing. You got to celebrate.
So not even the 92 Blue Jays who won the World Series, but the 93 Blue Jays, because that lineup from top to bottom was made to win. Ricky Henderson leading off, Robbie Alomar, Johnny Olerud, Paul Molitor.
Old Robbie.
I mean, you know, that was a team set up.
Are you not going to talk about Joe Carter?
I'm sorry, Joe Carter hitting out of number 4. What am I doing? What am I doing? That's right, hitting the most prolific home run. Anyways, I'll never forget this because 92, even though that was huge, you know, we could only watch it. 92 also wasn't the greatest. I was watching it most of the games out of one of my buddy's houses, and I remember he didn't want me to come back because I stunk up his bathroom, and he didn't want me to come back ever again. So that
seems to be a theme of your life, right?
That wasn't a great thing, you know. Yeah. But 93, because the game to clinch it, one of them there was there in Toronto, and I remember my buddy. So I had 2 buddies. Jim and Darren and myself, and we all went to this gentleman's club, the basement of this gentleman's club in downtown Toronto.
Wait, well, hold on. Did you go to watch the game there?
Oh no, we went to watch the game there.
And you realized it was on. How did you end up?
No. So it was my buddy Jim actually who suggested it. Go, listen, man, we go there, okay? Because none of us were really frequenting any of these gentlemen's bars, but he was there just telling me.
Was Jim? I don't want to throw Jim under the bus because I'm sure Jim's a great guy right now. But is he the guy that that's where he wanted to go?
That's where he wanted to go. Jim wanted to go.
One of my best friends in the world. His name is Daniel, and he's that guy. Also, he's always we go to the club, and he'd be like, man. forget this. Let's go to the gym and stuff. I'm like, what?
What? He was
Another time.
going on.
Daniel, I love you, buddy.
Well, he was going on about I think the chicken wings, everything like that. Like the food is like top notch.
He had a Lou Will argument, huh? The food's great.
So here we are. We're in the basement of this. We're in the basement of this gentleman's bar, and it's like, it's just a big screen TV. You're getting food, you're getting beer, and every now and then, like, a performer will walk by, of course, all in a blanket, walking to go up.
Yeah, because you were in the locker room. That's why you were in the
I guess
locker room.
But all I remember though is Joe Carter hitting that home run, and as soon as that happened, to clinch it, we were right there downtown Toronto enjoying the festivities. That blew my mind. That was amazing. But that's number two. Because number one.
Hold on.
All right.
That is the power of sports in a nutshell, right? The fact that you were at a place that, listen, in most guys' truest moments, the place where there's naked women tends to be a spot they'll stay. It's not a spot you'll exit quickly unless, someone shows up that doesn't want you to be there, or the cops come, or whatever, right? Like, normally you would stay there. But the fact that your inclination at the win was to run outside away from naked women says something.
Dude.
I think we all get it, right? I think as sports fans, we all get it. We're like, yep, I have to go celebrate with my friends. I'm out. Yeah, I'm out, right? I got to go party. Like nothing else matters. But on the hierarchy of things that matter, like, that's what it was, right? And so it's not a surprise. I would have done the same thing. This is not a knock. It's fascinating to me that, like, of the power of sports and the power of victory is like that way. Because if they would have lost, my assumption is, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, at that time in your life,
at that time in my life, you're probably not that far off.
Yeah,
we're here.
Yeah, we're here already. What are we gonna do? Might as well stay home.
Yeah, no, ran right out, man. It was fantastic. Number one, though, was the Raptors winning it last year, okay? Now, it's so funny because Torontonians have become educated in basketball. You can educate Canadians. And the funny thing is that we invented it's funny, right? One Canadian invented the game.
Yes.
But we all Canada invented it. It was a Canadian that invented it, But we, as Canadians,
reminds me of that Ricky Bobby skit. We're like, we invented the missionary position. You're welcome.
No, but seriously, right? So you can educate Canadians on the game, right? So a lot of people in Toronto, they're educated sports fans because you have so many different sports that are happening. But the magic of this was that it caught on across the country. I mean, there was watch parties in Halifax. There was watch parties in Montreal. There was watch parties in Regina, Saskatchewan. There was watch parties all over the country. 36 million all of a sudden. I don't know anything about this basketball, but heck, they're in a championship. I'm watching.
Listen, I've got some cousins in Saskatchewan, and I tell you what, man, shout out to them, but they were in it. Like,
yeah.
That's the home. Like, I remember, being on the West Coast when the Grizzlies were here. Like, it was crazy. Yeah. Just like, it's like when the Blue Jays come in town. Like, you guys, when having such small markets, and not markets, but having just one team in a thing, like, you guys all just, it's almost like you view it like the Olympics.
Yeah, you're absolutely
at a Blue Jays series, sitting down, at the Blue Jays series, and talking to the lady next to me. They were from Toronto, and it was her birthday weekend, and they were, we were sitting in some good seats. Shout out my buddy Jason McFadden for the seats. I appreciate you. But me and my buddy Josh were sitting there, and those tickets weren't necessarily cheap, and they had bought all 4 games. All 4 of them. They're staying in hotels. They had all this gear, and they were just loaded up. And I was like, man, you guys, they're like, yep. Like, every year we come down for a 4-game set. Every time Toronto, and it is that way. Like, they just take over Seattle, and it's like almost a home game for the Blue Jays. It's impressive to watch.
Yeah, you're gonna see that there coming up in 2021, 2022 there for your Kraken as well. Well, the thing is, I mean, you already have a home.
It's hard.
You got a built-in rivalry with Vancouver right there.
Yeah, it's so difficult for me. I want to pivot and be a Kraken fan, but I've been rooting for the Canucks my whole life.
Right. And now
growing up, like we don't always have cable. Like we only had we had ABC, NBC, CBS, and CBC. That's what we had. And, like I didn't want to watch that old joke is when the president was on, you couldn't watch TV. Well, that's not true for us kids because we could watch hockey up here.
Right.
CBC. We're like, oh, the president's on. Let's see what's on CBC. Let's go watch that. You got to get it in. So it's I'm a pretty loyal guy hometown wise, but it's going to be difficult for me to dive fully into the Kraken because it's just
release the Kraken.
Yes, man.
I love it, buddy. I love it.
It's great. I'm so conflicted. Like I want to go
Vegas Golden Knights.
Yeah, this is fun. Vegas is like, I don't know what the right term for it is. That's appropriate. But I mean, everyone feels like Vegas is a home at some point, right? I mean, like,
yeah.
Vegas has so many fans that they're so universally loved.
The Golden Knights were brilliant by moving their team in there first and getting that crowd right away, And not saying that the Raiders.
Listen, they're going to take it though. Like that's the thing. Who's not going to go see their team play when they're in Vegas?
No,
I'm going to.
Exactly.
And that's
the thing. I mean, how are they going to do? They're going to do perks and comps there. You know what I mean? You're going to a game.
Yes, it's 100%. That's how it's going to go.
Yeah.
It's going to end up being like the Los Angeles Chargers were last year. They're going to play, and it's not going to be a home game because they're going to be outnumbered by the fans like they were last year. That was crazy.
Kind of like Safeco when Toronto comes, like we just discussed.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
I'm just going to get my payback. Maybe that's why I'm so excited to go. I just want to get some payback. Maybe that's what it is.
I think it's awesome.
Maybe that's what it is. Yeah, it is. It is awesome.
So Raptors, like I said, it's a whole nation that's behind them. I don't think I know in the States it's each team. I mean, every one of your cities are huge, right? So so in actuality, I mean, Canada's population is like a little north of 36 million, right? But to have that whole entire population just going for you, because that's the thing is that just like Joe Namath invented basketball, Canada invented basketball.
not Joe Namath.
I'm sorry. Did I say Joe Namath? No, that's
Joe Namath is famous for a lot of things. Inventing basketball.
No, did I just say that? That's terrible. That's Oh no!
Tell me the inventor of basketball wore a fur coat to the pool. I don't think so.
No, Joe Namath.
How about James Naismith? Dr. James.
James Naismith. Joe Namath. What a
put some respect on Dr. Naismith's name.
Joe Namath.
Oh, it was beautiful.
Oh, Joe.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I remember, texting back and forth during that game with you, just, when they were getting ready to clinch, just the uneasiness that you felt, right? And I think
buddy.
that's what leads. I think that there's a couple things, right? The uneasiness going into a victory, I think, levels up the way that it feels. And that's also sharing it with people. I think for me, the number one victory for me is the playoffs the year before the Sonics moved to Oklahoma. And I remember going, with my buddy Daniel, and we sat, we went to the Spurs game. We went to every single home game just because we weren't planning on it. It just was like, we got to keep going. Like, we just got to go. We got to go. And I'm grateful that we went because that was like the last hurrah, really, for us.
Yeah.
But I remember the Sonics being down double-digit points in the fourth and watching Ray Allen and Rashard Lewis come back and hit these threes. And just being in Key Arena, being with a good friend of mine and just being, and I think those are all the moments for me. And last week I talked about, watching Beastquake act with my brother and how that's like a top moment in my life because sharing those moments with people is so big. But I remember Ray Allen hitting a shot in the corner at the buzzer to beat the Spurs and that place just going completely insane, and I'll never forget those moments. And then, and that's, really the top for me is that moment of even now, because I can't experience it anymore. I think that's why it trumps these other moments, because I don't have.
Isn't it amazing? Like, you take those little pictures in your mind, and you just kind of remember it. You might not remember everything about it, but you do remember the smells. You remember things around it, and sometimes you remember that play for every moment that happens in that play. It's amazing.
You see all the things, right? Yeah, I can tell you what kind of shoes Bray had on. I mean, all that stuff.
Like, I amaze myself that, like, if my wife walks away and asks me to pause the show before it comes on, I could forget to do that. But I can remember all these. That's terrible, isn't it? That's terrible. It's terrible. It's terrible. But
maybe she spikes your adrenaline before she asks you about, you remember. I guess what it is, it's adrenaline, right? Like, that's the thing. Like, it's like that moment against San Antonio was so long ago, right? I mean, we're talking 13, 14 years ago, which feels like a long time for a sports fan, especially one that hasn't had basketball since then. And I remember that walking. So last summer, I took my two oldest girls to a Seattle Storm game. I remember walking into Key Arena, and I walked in this hallway that I knew Daniel and I had been in, and I just took a quick little video of it, and he's in the Air Force station in London. And I just sent it to him. He was like, "Man, that brings back so many memories." And I thought, yes, like, that's what it is, right? It's the community. It's like the sights and the smells, and I could recall that memory all the time, but like, just being there, like, brought back all of it.
Absolutely.
I think that's the beauty of what sports are to us, right? I think that's the catch. The catch is that it hooks you, but it just goes, So
I'm not going to talk about it today, but at some point we got to talk about the time that we went to that Mariners game against the Tampa Bay Rays. Yeah, and we got the luxury box. We got to talk about it.
I think that's it. Listen, like, in one of these next episodes, we're going to talk about stadium experiences.
Yes, and
because I have some things to say about that specific.
Absolutely, and I want to give a guide out on what to do when you're in a luxury box.
Yeah, we should.
Which is everything.
I think that we nailed it. I think that we heard from professionals who oversee those boxes every season about how well we did. So we should share those tips.
Absolutely, I totally agree. So that's for some time down the road.
Yeah.
All right, I think it's time for a little one-on-one. So
yeah, let's do a little one-on. Let me lead off. So tonight, I don't know if you're aware, right? UFC Fight Night, Frankie Yeager's fighting.
Yes.
Fighting at 135, which I think is what we've all wanted to see for a long time. Which is fascinating because he was so good at 155.
That's right.
And then, wasn't good at 155. Or not wasn't good, but just wasn't competitive anymore. Couldn't defend his title. Couldn't get it back.
Yeah.
Went to 145. Same story. Man, now at the age of 38, dropping 20 pounds.
Yeah.
When famously had not cut weight before.
Right.
What do you feel like? Is this him holding on, or is this him being smart?
Yeah, no, I think it's him holding on. I mean, all the way through those weight categories, I mean, those guys are top to bottom great, right? And not to say that Frankie Yeager wasn't great, because he was. It's just that I can't even believe that's almost a decade ago, if it's not a decade ago, when he beat BJ Penn for the title.
Yes, it was a decade. It was for real a decade ago.
And he was a monster.
I'm pretty sure we watched that fight together.
Yeah, he was a monster, and then he wasn't. And UFC is just one of those sports where there's a lot of skill, a lot of technique, but again, I mean, you hit a guy on the button, because like, these guys they're just going, right? Like, it's not like jab, slip. Yeah. Sometimes they're both just going, and you get the guy behind the ear, and that's it. Like, the fight's over, and you can have the guy stumbling.
It's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting to me that once that button gets pushed, how easy it is to push that button again, right? I feel like we saw that with Chuck Liddell.
Oh, Chuck Liddell. And that's what I feel like. I didn't want to say that, but that's kind of what I feel with
You're scared Chuck's going to come find you?
No. Yeah. Are you kidding? I don't want that man looking for me.
No, that's for me, I feel like I think the people I don't want to punch me in the face is Mike Tyson, Chuck Liddell, and then other people.
Pretty
But
much
it's
anybody that
definitely-
has any sort of professional training. I mean, what you've been
Oh
doing-
no,
Yeah.
maybe. I mean, listen, well, I don't want to talk too much about your past, but you told me one time that you fought a whole bunch of dudes and felt like it was fair. So I know that you can take a punch.
Oh well, I mean that's a long time ago, and
I'm
still
not
got my
saying it's
butt
not.
kicked very badly.
I'm just saying, like, there's levels of that shit.
Yeah. I mean, that wasn't my smartest decision.
Well, yeah.
Not the smartest.
I would argue that it led you to Joanna, so you could talk about that, I guess.
That's true, I guess. Yeah.
It was a pretty smart decision. That's how you get there, right? That's how you level up.
It's true. It's true. I really have no real thoughts except that he is trying to hold on, but it's going to be an exciting fight, I still think.
Yeah.
I'm just happy.
Tough,
We're
right?
getting fight nights all throughout the week. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Like every week is a fight night, and then a pay-per-view.
Yeah. Uncle Dana is really helping us out through this whole thing, right? Is every weekend. And the talent is so, like, I remember, you remember how when this thing first started going, it was so sporadic, and then it was like once a month maybe you would see these big deals, and they would have like these little sporadic fight nights where they weren't that great because the talent wasn't there, and now it's like the talent is so high in all the divisions that they can just consistently put out these high competitive cards.
I know. Like, here I am in Canada, and I can see Dana White's Contender Series come on TSN, and I'm just like ecstatic. It comes on late, but that's how they're feeding their new talent pool, right?
Yeah, it's worth it. You're getting guys that get in the gym and start going.
I had another question for you, but since we're on this UFC kick right now, I'll bring this question up. Do you think that Sugar Sean O'Malley should have been the co-main event in the last UFC?
I think so. I think that he's got it, whatever it is, right?
Man,
I think he was on a streak. I think all of them. I think that it was unfortunate what happened to him. I think, like, do you know what his motor is and what it looks like? And then if you watch that replay and watch how it's like, you get a bad reel, buddy. Like, that's just a bad shot.
But that's the second time.
I don't necessarily hate it.
That's the second time he did something to his foot, right? It's like
I don't think that you let it happen again.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I think you take injury out one time, right? You throw that, like, for a performance, you throw the injury out if it's rough, right?
Yeah.
I mean, those things happen. I think that the second time it happens, I think now it's, not that he's prone to those things, but just that maybe the universe is prone to him having those things, right?
Maybe.
So you just kind of got to let it go and see how it shakes out. I thought that it was setting up to be a super exciting fight. Like, I think those styles match.
I totally agree with you.
I can see why it was where it was. I
thought Cheeto was going to win regardless, though. I have to be honest with you. It looked like he was a savage, and terrible that he got injured and people are questioning his victory. But I was there going. I mean, four fights in the UFC, and you're in a co-main event. And it's
we've seen it before. Dana likes to push the hot hand.
I totally agree with you. I mean, that's what happened with Conor McGregor. Man, McGregor was able to back up what he was doing, and when he lost, he came back.
I think O'Malley. I think O'Malley might have been able. I think that's O'Malley didn't lose necessarily. That's how I see it.
But did he?
But he lost, but like he didn't get beat. He didn't get beat. You know what I mean? Like, he didn't show up and get stomped on. You know what I mean? Like,
I will never forget that one of my instructors. I'll never.
I feel like I feel like here's the thing. I feel like if you think that that Cheeto didn't win because of injury, then you can't feel like Stipe won either because that eye poke was nasty.
Oh, but he got eye poked himself. I mean, we can discuss.
I know. I'm just saying, I'm just saying you can't cheapen it by saying that it, they got hurt. That's just the name of that game. It's mixed martial arts.
That is the name of the game. I'll never forget one of my instructors telling me, it's like if two guys get into a fight, right? And one guy gets knocked out, the other guy gets his hand broken. Who won that fight?
Yeah. Well,
and he goes, the guy got knocked out because the guy got his hand broken. That hand is broke now for the next however long,
Yeah, maybe.
Well, it's.
I mean, I see the sentiment. Yeah, the argument in me is like, well, CTE and like that guy's gonna have migraines for a couple years.
Yeah, well, this is of course before. So true, Brad.
But I appreciate like the sentiment. Like, that's the thing, or it's one of those things where like if you got the guy to tap, you know what I mean, but that guy broke his hand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you got him in an arm bar and you were able to get him a tap out. Like the guy that broke his hand is the one that lost that fight.
Lost that fight,
you know what I mean?
even though you got the victory. Smart. Yeah.
Well, you won the victory, but not the war, right?
That's exactly it.
All right, what do you got for me?
All right, NCAA season's supposed to happen in the spring. I'm hearing schools might be shutting down. Yeah. What do you think about these football players having to play in the spring and then come out and then having to be drafted if they're able to be drafted and then perform at the NFL level? It's not a lot of time.
It's not a lot of time. I think it really sets it back. It's interesting. I think the last couple of years you started to hear some push for, paying athletes as a job, right? It's the next level, all those things. And I think now you have to see that. I don't know how you look anybody in the face and say, we don't feel that it's safe for you to be at school and attending classes unless you're an athlete, you can come to practice. Like, I don't know where that give is. And obviously, there's kids that are paying tuition versus kids that have scholarships. But I know that academically, there's also scholarships. And so the academic scholarship kids don't still have to come to class. You know what I mean? Like, we know that, right? So it becomes a weird thing of how are they going to compensate those kids for the risks that they are asking them to take. I don't think it's great. I think you're starting to see some athletes opting out and going, like the guys that feel like they are going to get drafted based on what their portfolio already looks like, are opting out and going to train like at IMG and on some of these other high academies, and they're just going to train for the year to go into the combine. I've heard the combine potentially is going to be virtual, which is an interesting thing for me. I don't know how the scouts are going to feel necessarily with that. I mean, it's one thing to watch a guy perform on tape. I know a lot of tape goes into the scouting world, but I think scouts will tell you that seeing someone live tells you more about seeing a curated tape, right? And that's just kind of.
No, I agree. I just.
It's the difference. For me, it's the difference between seeing somebody on social media and seeing someone in real life. Like, I can curate what my life looks like to you on Facebook, but knowing me in real life, you would know what the real.
But I've been looking at a lot of the posts that some of these student athletes are putting out there, and it's like, a lot of these students have ruined it because they're going to these parties and everything like that for them.
Absolutely.
And you know what? Absolutely. They have a good point, because it's just like, I know you're 20, whatever. It's like, but these guys they have something else that they want to do. Obviously, I'm not trying to say that these guys that are in their 20s that are going to school trying to get a higher education don't have something to do, but the ramifications in the now, you know what I mean? Because it is in the now. It's killing these guys' career. So,
Yes. Yeah, I think, the percentage of college athletes that go to play pro sports is small, but I think those guys should be afforded that opportunity. I think it's a slippery slope, right? I mean, it really is. You have to have reform. I think you see, even in basketball, right? You got Krzyzewski saying, "Oh, we need to play. We need the revenue." Like, we understand that the sports programs, right, especially the high ones that everyone pays attention to, the basketballs and the footballs of the world, that they drive a lot of revenue for the schools that allow them to do so many great things. Yeah. But if your labor is free, and it's not free, right? They I don't know. It's hard.
I don't know where the right answer on that is either, too.
For reform. Yeah. Well, there's a lot of time. I mean, there's a time for reform. I think that time is now. And what the right answer is, I don't necessarily know, but I think it's a time to look through it and figure it out.
That's a good point. It's got
to be better than what it is. I think, you read that book about the Fab Five that Mitch Albom wrote, and they talk about, Chris Webber and Jalen Rose saying, they were trying to scratch together $20 so the Fab Five could go get a pizza.
Right.
And as they're walking from the dorm to go pick the pizza up, they walk by the team store. All their jerseys are in the window with their names on them and their numbers. They're selling their likeness for like $80 a pop.
It's ridiculous.
And those five guys had to scratch together $4 a piece so they could have dinner. Like that. But again, the 90s, right? I don't think colleges are that way necessarily now. I think they, the athletes, have a little bit more better nutrition programs and those kinds of things. But I still think that's a real thing. I think that, allowing those guys to make money off their likeness, I think that matters. So
Absolutely.
It is what it is. Okay.
Well, I think that's time for today.
Yeah, buddy.
I
like it. It's time to get the rest of the week.
Absolutely. So, guys, we have our new website out now, www.gbs.buzzsprout.com. You'll be able to get all of our content in there. Plus, on top of that, what's our Facebook there, Brad?
Guys.Beer.Sports podcast.
Yes.
Find us there. Guys.Beer.Sports. Really on all platforms is where you can find us.
Yes.
YouTube, anywhere you can podcast, you can find us on there. So
absolutely.
Thanks for your support. I think, we're excited to be moving on this thing. Let us know what you would like to hear. Let us know if you have any questions about what we put out, what were your points. Let's talk about it. We really feel like what we're missing in life these days is the social aspect. So let's get it here, right? That's what we enjoy to do. So.
And listen, if anything we put up there, please send us your comments too at guys.beer.sports@gmail.com. As far as comments on your top thrill of victory, agony of defeat moment.
Just give us the one that speaks to you the most. If we were talking and you thought, oh, that reminds me of, then put it in the comments. Like,
and then
let's talk. Let's start a dialogue. Let's jump into it. Let's talk. Yeah.
And then we'll put it up on the social media, and let's do that. Let's get together
on the social media. That's why your wife calls you that thing.
That's why I'm a Luddite on the social media.
Put on all social media platforms, not the social media.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
See, that's what you can't say the. That's like saying the Facebook, man. You just feel like you're old.
All right. Have a great week.
Yeah, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
Yes.
Peace.
You've listened to the podcast, but now it's time to visit us in our virtual sports bar. Like us on Facebook at Guys.Beer.Sports Podcast. Follow us on Instagram and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Guys.Beer.Sports. When you do this, watch for live conversations with Brad and Sean that happen throughout the week, where you can join in with your favorite local beer. You can share your thoughts in the conversation comments with your own uploaded videos or as a guest live commentator. The GBS Virtual Sports Bar is open for business. Come on in, boys and girls.